My name is Dr. Kenneth G. Furton, F-U-R-T-O-N.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Dr. Furton.
Good morning.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what your profession is?
Yes, I'm a professor in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry at Florida International University. I am also the Director Emeritus of the International Forensic Research Institute and the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at FIU.
And how long have you been employed there?
For 23 years.
Okay. And can you share with us your educational background?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in forensic science, a PhD in analytical chemistry. I then completed a postdoctoral studies in the United Kingdom for 2 years in nuclear science. And for the last 23 years, I've been on faculty at FIU in Miami.
Okay. And what is your area of expertise?
I focus on area of chemistry dealing with separating, identifying, and quantifying complex mixtures of chemicals. And for the last 18 years, I've focused on studying the chemicals that are given off by forensic specimens in order to be able to see how canines locate forensic specimens, as well as how machines can be developed to either complement or replace biological detectors.
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to study human decomposition and the
Yes, I
chemical
have.
breakdown?
Oh, yes, I have.
Can you share with the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what your experience is in that area?
Yes, since about 2003, my research group has been looking at the volatile chemicals that are given off by live humans as well as human remains, with the idea of trying to identify individuals, live individuals, and also try to locate the human remains based on the characteristic chemicals that are given off after a person is deceased.
And have you published any peer-review articles in the area of human decomposition?
Yes, I have.
How many?
We have. I have a master's student and a PhD student who have published their thesis and dissertation, and then we have two peer-reviewed journal articles, one in 2003 and one in 2011.
How does that work when you have students that have published work? Do you have any involvement in that?
Yes, the way it works is I directly supervise the students' research, so they have to develop a certain level of independence of their own projects, but I also join them in some cases in the lab, and I actually just came back early from a week-long field trip with several graduate students out in California doing research on human scent.
Now, have you also received any grants in the area to study the area of human decomposition from our government?
Well, we've got several different grants that fund my research lab. In most of my research funding in the last 8 years related to human scent has been focused on live human scent, but we've also done human remains research as well in the laboratory.
Okay. And have you lectured in this area?
Yes, I give extensive lectures around the country and around the world in a variety of areas related to detection technologies, instrumental and biological, and many of those have been related to the location of human remains.
Are there any instruments that are used to analyze these chemicals?
There are instruments that are used to generally analyze volatile organic compounds from any kind of a forensic specimen. There's currently no instrument specifically designed for identifying human remains.
Okay. And have you ever testified as an expert witness in the area of human decomposition or forensic chemistry?
Objection. Compound question.
I'll rephrase it, Judge.
Sustain, rephrase it.
Have you ever testified as an expert witness in the area of human decomposition?
Not before this particular trial.
Okay. And have you ever testified as an expert witness in forensic chemistry?
Yes, I've testified over 24 times in a variety of different areas related to DUI, presumptive drug testing, and also identifying volatiles associated with detecting forensic specimens.
Do you have any patents that you are the holder of?
Yes,
How many?
just one at the moment.
Okay, and what is that for?
It's a patent which is the identification of humans based on the volatile organic compounds that they give off.
Okay. And do you belong to any professional organizations?
Yes, I do.
What are they?
I'm a member of the American Chemical Society, was including being a past president of the South Florida section of the American Chemical Society. I'm also a fellow of the American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
Okay. And where have you testified previously in a court of law?
I testified in a variety of situations, including grand jury hearings and civil court proceedings, criminal proceedings, both on behalf of the prosecution and the defense.
Have you received numerous awards and honors from law enforcement due to your contribution?
Objection, not related to qualifications, bolster.
Sustain, Mr. Award.
Judge, at this time, I would move to have Dr. Furton admitted as an expert in human decomposition and that of forensic chemistry.
I have no objection to the forensic chemistry. I would like to award ire on the human decomposition.
You may verdict.
Doctor, your
Yes.
work in the study of human decomposition is from the perspective of what a human remains detection dog would alert to. In other words, your studies began in studying the training aids and the chemical composition of those. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. And in fact, until very recently, let me start over. When we say your studies, we actually mean your students' studies, correct?
They're the studies that are done, completed under my direction,
Right, but by your students as the primary researchers.
by my students as well as myself.
And up until just recently, that study did not deal with studying the decomposition of whole human cadavers. It was decomposition of training aids used by dogs, correct?
Yes, the one master student worked on training aids, which would be human remains components, and then the most recent PhD student worked with whole human remains.
Right. Other than that, other than studying the compounds given off by training aids and then in one study by actual human corpses, do you have any other expertise in human decomposition other than that area? In other words, human decomposition is a very broad subject matter. Do you have expertise in stages of decomposition, bloat versus frat, that area?
Well, just in as it relates to how we look at the volatiles associated with human decomposition, because different stages of decomposition can give different volatile organic compounds. And as a forensic scientist and teaching forensic chemistry, involved in the general knowledge of human decomposition as it relates to my research.
I don't have any objection to being qualified in the limited area of human decomposition related to volatile organic compounds that are given off, not the entire area of human decomposition. So if that's acceptable to counsel, I have no objection.
Judge, we're not going to inquire as to the different stages or things like that. It will be on the chemical analysis of human decomposition.
I think he has the minimum qualifications for that, Judge, yes.
Dr. Furton would be accepted as expert witness in the area of chemistry and human decomposition in terms of the odor analysis. Is that what you're tendering him in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he'll be accepted. You may continue.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Furton, you mentioned you just got back from California.
Yes.
Okay. And we're kind of taking you out of turn because of your schedule.
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell us what items you received and reviewed in this case?
Yes, I received all of the records related to the investigation, including the autopsy reports, the photographs of the contents of the trunk, the expert witness report from the preliminary and final reports from Oak Ridge National Laboratory, all of the depositions and other documents related to the experts, the canine experts, as well as the chemists and the other investigators related to the case.
Okay. Were you asked to specifically look at the work done by the Oak Ridge National Laboratories?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And did you review the preliminary reports as well as the final report?
Yes, I did.
Did you also review the report issued by Dr. Sigmund?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And he is from the National Center of Forensic Sciences?
That's correct.
Okay. Was Dr. Sigmund's report the first report issued in this case as it relates to a chemical analysis?
Objection to hearsay.
Overruled at this point.
I believe that was the first report, the first chemical analysis that was done of the contents of the trunk.
And then after Dr. Sigmund's report was completed, a month later, the first preliminary report came out from Dr. Voss?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you put together a, well, let me ask you this. Have you also reviewed numerous studies or all different studies having to do with the study of human decomposition?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And do you have an opinion as to whether there is a unique signature of chemical compounds that could tell you if it is human decomposition?
Yes, I do.
And what is that opinion? Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yeah, well, it's based on the research that we've conducted over the last 8 years and all of the peer-reviewed literature that I've been able to review, as well as including our studies. It's my expert opinion that there's currently no instrumental method that's been scientifically validated to the level that it could be used to identify the presence or absence of human remains based on the chemical residues that are present.
Okay. Have you prepared a PowerPoint presentation that would assist you in explaining to the jury this incredibly complex and boring area of forensic science?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Would that assist them in as a demonstrative aid?
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay. Judge, at this time, we'd like to connect the Dr. Furton's computer to be able to show these PowerPoint presentation.
I don't have an objection. Do we have a copy to have marked to make sure we have
Yes.
a record of exactly what was shown?
Absolutely.
It's been offered as a demonstrative aid.
Can I just take a look at it and make sure the one area that we discussed is
Mr. Bias, is it being offered only as a demonstrative aid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You will be permitted to show it to the jury.
I'm a little bit.
May I publish to both the witness and the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
Okay. Oh, just that. FN F8. Okay, you want to go ahead and start your slide? Okay. What are we looking at here, Doctor?
This is just animation showing how the instrument works, in which the gas chromatograph actually separates all those individual chemicals in a complex mixture into the individual components. It's a little cut off on my screen, but you can see the what's called the chromatogram. Each of those peaks is a
Let me take it one step at a
Okay.
time. This box here, that's the GCMS that everybody's been talking about.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that stands for gas chromatograph mass spectrometer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, where do you insert the samples? You can touch your screen, by the way. And
Oh, here, okay, yeah. So the samples are actually injected here with either a syringe, if you were to take just an air sample and inject it, or there may be other types of injection devices that are used, but the sample is placed in at the beginning of that instrument.
Okay, and then it goes through this machine, and it comes out with a written report called a chromatogram.
Yes, if is the bottom cut off on yours? Should I change the resolution?
I think that's what
let me
the
do
problem
that.
is, yeah.
Take one. Let's see.
We're going to get a kid to help you out.
Yeah, which
Here's our-
Until we get it straight on
okay. Yes.
Okay, it's published.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so as you were saying, those chemicals pass through the gas chromatograph, and then based on the size of the molecules, the smaller molecules move more quickly than the larger molecules. So hopefully in the end, you wind up in this chromatogram is you get a separation of all of the chemicals, although many times you'll get compounds that are very close to one another, so you have to run calibration standards. And ultimately you identify the chemical by this what's called the mass spectrum. It's essentially a molecular fingerprint. So the molecule is fragmented, breaks into that mass spectrum, and then use that along with the retention time with known standards to get the identity of what are the chemicals in the mixture.
Let me stop you there. What do you mean by known standards? What does that mean?
It's you buy standards from a chemical company which have a confirmed identity, and you run those on your instrument, and you confirm where the peaks come out in terms of retention time and how the mass spectrum looks on your instrument, because that's the only way that you can be certain of the identity of a chemical.
So you buy chemicals from a company that says, this is definitely this chemical. You insert it in, and you can compare it to what your results are.
Correct.
And this chromatogram, does it tell you how much of a specific chemical is there?
No, it doesn't. It only gives you you can get an idea of relative abundances. So based on the different sizes of the peaks, that can give you an estimation of the relative amount. So a peak here, which is smaller than this one, will give you an idea of the relative ratios. But ultimately, you need to run what's called a calibration curve, in which you inject those standards that you purchase. You run them on the instrument at different concentrations. And then when you inject your sample, you make sure that your sample has the same peak area response that's within your calibration curves. That's the only way you can do what's called quantification, or determine the exact amount of the chemical.
So unless you do this, you don't know how much of a specific chemical is there, right?
That's correct.
And all this will tell you is that a specific chemical is there and how much it compares from one chemical to another.
Objection, leading and asked and answered.
Sustained is deleted.
What will this tell you, sir?
That will just give you an indication of the approximate relative ratios of the chemicals, but not the absolute amount in terms of total number of molecules or grams or a concentration unit.
And when you say relative, you're referring to one chemical versus another.
Right, within the same run.
Okay. All right. What's the next slide you got?
Okay, so what we've done is I apologize, it's a very busy slide, but what we've done is run, if you take each of those peaks, the different chemical of each a peak has a different color, and I put it in a bar graph form. So F7 here is one person, female 7. Oops, sorry, I forget. And then we put her relative ratio of compounds in one run. And when you do that, this is 5 females and 5 males compared, and looking at the relative ratios of characteristic compounds. These are 24 primary odor compounds that we have identified from living humans. When we do that, and we've developed a database and looked at background chemicals, we can discriminate the individuals with over a 99% discrimination ability using a 0.9 threshold by a technique called Spearman rank correlation.
All right, let me stop you there because you're starting to lose me. Okay. These are all people that are living.
Yes.
Okay, and this is kind of like you're identifying what kind of chemicals their bodies give off?
Yes, you can kind of think of it as like a human barcode in terms of the chemicals that a living person gives off.
Okay, so all of these lines here represent a different person.
That's correct.
Okay, and from what you're seeing here, there are different chemicals for different people that they give off.
Yeah, so if you just visually look at those 10 barcodes for 10 individuals, you can see that each person has a unique pattern of chemicals.
Okay, so everybody's different.
Yes.
All right, got that. All right, what's your? Is there anything else other on this?
No, just that, and then we've by doing enough analyses, you have to assert some level of confidence to the measurement, and so we've applied a variety of different statistical methods, and I won't bore you with all the different techniques, but the one that's very simple to explain is this Spearman rank correlation. You just look at the most abundant to the least abundant. It essentially gives a number associated with each one, so it's almost like a barcode. It's very simple and easy to apply. But we've done other statistical methods in order to determine how reliable the method is in terms of being able to differentiate individuals.
So what you were able to do is, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm understanding this right, is you're able to see which ones are common across the board with everyone and put that as the most important chemical, and then go down the line, or go from top to bottom, I should say.
Yes, it's a combination of the common chemicals and the relative abundance of those, as well as some unique chemicals that individuals give off.
Okay, let's take a look at the next slide.
So if you compare those bar graphs, on the left are 7 living individuals, and you can again see essentially those human barcodes are all very different. And then these are 6 deceased individuals. These are 3 that were taken at a morgue and 3 at a crematorium. And you can see that deceased individuals look more similar to each other than living individuals. And so the idea is to try to look at what are the most important chemicals that are associated with human decomposition in order to be able to use those chemicals as a tool for locating human remains.
Okay, let's go to the next. What are we looking at here?
So this is a table that I put together that shows the 20 most abundant chemicals. So we saw this in 20, the majority of the samples that were taken from the morgue. This is 21 individuals at a morgue and 6 individuals at a crematorium, deceased individuals. And the idea is to try to look at what are the chemicals that are most common, most abundant and most common, and then compare them at different locations in order to try to get to these characteristic compounds that could be used for locating human remains.
Okay. And so this right here puts an X next to which ones were found common in both of these locations.
Yes.
Okay. And if there's nothing there, they were not in both.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, the next slide. We've also done this for
other decomposing animals. So this is just a example showing these are actual decomposing canines. These are portions of tuna, chicken, lamb, pork, and beef. So they're not the whole animal, but portions of the animal. And then these are the actual whole human deceased individuals.
So what is this telling us here?
It's again, the idea is to try to identify what are compounds that are coming from non-human decompositional events, because those compounds would not be specific for human decomposition, and you would either have to exclude them as part of your statistical method or be cautious in terms of how you develop a method that would give you a measure of the error rate of your method.
Is there some overlap, chemicals that are found in both?
Yes, there's quite a bit of overlap between decomposing organic matter, including decomposing animal remains.
Okay, let's go to the next.
I've also have a larger table that I put together that.
Would that assist you in explaining that
yes.
to the jury?
Witness may stand now.
Yeah, so this is. Sorry, I'll give you a microphone.
I have it muted, so you're gonna have to wait till I get back to it. Unless you put it in your pocket. So they're both muted. So.
What is he looking at?
He is looking at Defense Exhibit EW for demonstrative purposes only.
Okay.
Okay, so
Hold on. I want to first, if you will, explain us what's going on here, because this is really looking kind of busy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't see the item.
Sure.
I don't know if there's a different position.
Is that still visible? Okay. Is that better, Mr. Ash?
Better, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yes, I apologize for, again, I know busy tables put people to sleep right away, but the idea is that there's a lot of information, so I figure it'd be easier to point it out to you in a table format. So when you're separating all of these complex chemicals, if you go to a very sensitive level, you'll find thousands of compounds, and if you refine it and look at higher concentration, you'll get hundreds of compounds, and the idea is to refine that down to hopefully a handful of compounds or dozens of compounds that could be used to be characteristic for human remains. So this just illustrates these are different functional groups, which are different kinds of chemicals. And so I've
Let me stop you so I can try and break this down. What you've done is you've classified certain chemicals into categories.
Yes, just as a chemist, it's easier sometimes to look at these are the acids and esters and alcohols and halogens. It's just different ways.
Your Honor, need to ask the witness to slow down.
Yes.
Slow down, doctor.
Yes.
Slow down.
Yes, Your Honor. So yes, so to a chemist, the different types of chemicals can have different sources, which is also another important thing to look at. So these blue are the characteristics of acids and esters, alcohols, halogenated compounds, and so forth, as a way to start to refine and compare the list. So this is a comparison of 8 different studies that have been done related to human remains, just to give a snapshot of the kinds of similarities or differences between the studies.
Let me stop you there. When you say reference, are these the different studies that you've assigned numbers to?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you're saying there's 8 different studies dealing with human decomposition?
Yeah, in this particular table, we list 8. I have another paper, a paper was just published this past week from a graduate student's dissertation.
But that's not in here.
That's not in here. This table actually comes from that paper.
Okay.
Summary of that paper.
All right, and there's 8, but I see a number 10 here. What is that?
Oh, yeah, I think these were the references that came out of the publication, so it's
Okay.
not necessarily in, 1 through 8.
All right, and do you include the papers done by Dr. Voss?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and that is what's highlighted in yellow?
Correct.
Okay, so is this a breakdown of what Dr. Voss finds versus what other people find?
Objection under the case, Your Honor. Approach the bench, I can explain more.
Yes. Okay, rephrase the question.
Yes, sir. Now, Dr. Furton, the methodologies from all of these different studies are different, are they not?
Yes.
Okay.
Some are similar, but many of the studies are very different.
And basically, they have bodies, they study decomposing bodies at different stages,
Yes,
as well as different locations. Some are buried, some are above ground.
correct.
And this is what appears to be a table of all of those different studies and the chemicals that they found based on their methodologies.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up. And so what are we looking at here?
Okay, so the idea is that when you're trying to locate human remains, which could either be a whole body or a portion of an individual, we're looking at what are the chemicals that are given off by a deceased individual or portions of a deceased individual. And there are various groups around the world who are working in this area, including my research group. And the idea is in order to reach a scientific consensus, is to work towards some idea of what are the most important chemicals that could be used in order to reliably locate human remains. And so this is a summary based on just a portion of all of the compounds that have been presented to try to get to certain compounds. For example, you'll see toluene, when you have the majority of the studies have identified toluene, or the sulfides, disulfides, trisulfides. You see the majority of the studies agree. That indicates, not necessarily with certainty, but it indicates that those could be important compounds to be included in a database for identifying humans.
Now, just so we have the numbers right, Dr. Voss's studies, his 2 papers, would be 6 and 7.
That's correct.
Okay, and we've heard a lot about this guy, the Greek. I don't want to butcher his name, Stathropoulos.
Stathropoulos, yes.
Okay, and he is from Greece,
Yes.
and he's number 4. Is that correct? As far as your
Yes, number
references?
4 and 5.
Okay, and what, if anything, can we learn from this chart that you have here?
Objection. The generality of the question may be a Caylee violation.
I'll rephrase that. To
Rephrase.
Now, what are these percentages?
I just illustrated of the 8 studies, the percentage of agreement. So if most of the percentages were above 50%, that would indicate general agreement amongst the different research groups around the world studying the volatiles associated with human decomposition. And you'll see that generally the numbers are well below 50. In some cases are only about a quarter, about 25%, which means there's more disagreement than there is agreement at the moment between the different studies that have been completed.
And that takes into account also that there are different methodologies and
Yes.
different studies. Okay, so the only ones that are above what you consider the 50% threshold are 2, 4 chemicals?
Yeah, at least in this for this summary chart, those 4 chemicals give you an idea of some compounds that there seems to be some general agreement amongst, which are the cyclic hydrocarbons, the toluene, paraxylene, and the sulfides, dimethyl disulfide and dimethyl.
I need to ask the witness to repeat. Your Honor.
Slow it down.
Yes, sorry. Toluene and paraxylene, as well as the sulfides, dimethyl disulfide and dimethyl trisulfide.
Okay. Did you want to say anything, explain anything else here, or did you prefer to go back to your
I
PowerPoint?
think that is sufficient.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that from you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, what are we looking at here?
Well, this just is a photograph that was provided to me of contents from the trunk after they had been removed and I believe inventoried and laid out on a table. Just to give some examples of, there are, in addition to comparing living persons to deceased animals, the idea is also to look at what could be decompositional events from food products or volatiles that could be given off by consumer products that could be similar to things that are given off by decomposing humans. So it's just,
All right, let me stop you there. Now, we've heard some stuff about these fatty acids, okay? And did you read that these fatty acids were found on certain items, like the paper towels?
yes, that was in the report by Dr. Voss.
Okay. And where can you find these 4 fatty acids? And what kind of items can you find them in?
They're really everywhere. They're at least related to fatty materials. I show example here is they're present in milk fat or milk lipids. So milk products would also have them, cheeses and so forth. And they're the same compounds that are found in humans. So body fat, particularly when a person begins to decompose, the body fat can hydrolyze and produce these same fatty acids. And the ratios will change over time as well, but the same chemicals are seen in human fat as well as animal fat products.
And the chemical compounds dealing with sodium, calcium, magnesium, and iron, where can you find those?
Similarly, they're found in many, in fact, most products that we consume. So example I just show here is milk. So these are the elements that are in our body because we drink milk or other other liquids or food materials that contain these elements.
Okay. So are these, do you have an opinion as to whether these fatty acids are unique to human decomposition?
They're certainly not unique to human decomposition, and that's one of the reasons that the science there's not a sufficiently reliable scientific method to be able to identify the presence or absence of human remains, because you would have to know what all of the background chemicals are and the ratios of the various different chemicals in order to determine a statistical significance to a finding when you do a measurement.
And what about these chemicals? Are they unique to human decomposition?
No, they're not.
All right, do you have another slide?
Just another one. There are other, just a couple of examples because of the one was milk products. This would be pork and beef, common kind of food items that we would consume. There was hard salami, a wrapper for hard salami present. It just gives an example. They would also contain the same fatty acids, the same elements that were reported in the report by Dr. Voss.
Okay. Any other, the next slide, or is that your final slide?
That's it.
Okay. Now, in looking at the, actually, let me ask you about chloroform. Did you see a quantitative analysis done by Oak Ridge National Laboratories?
No, I did not.
Okay. Explain to us why it's important to do a quantitative versus a qualitative analysis. Yes, sir.
It's the original slide I showed you with the separation of the chemicals and then doing a calibration curve. That's the only way you can actually know the concentration of the chemicals that are present in a substance. And then you would compare that to the concentration that you would find in, say, consumer products or other decompositional events, human or non-human, in order to get some measure of the importance of the match. You would need to know the concentration.
Where can you find chloroform?
It's pretty much everywhere. It's a very common chemical in very low quantities. It can be very high in certain products, certain consumer products, such as bleach.
I believe, if I may take the counts for a moment.
Yeah. You may continue.
Yes, sir. Dr. Furton, you were saying that you can find chloroform in cleaning products.
Yes, yes. It's one of the it's seen in many different products, and depending on the concentration level, including even drinking water. But in consumer products, one of the products where you see a very large amount of chloroform as well as carbon tetrachloride is household bleach, and there have been studies showing that it can be produced at very high levels.
Can you give the jury some examples of other products that you can find in your home that contain chloroform?
Yes, it's a little scary when you think about it, because the World Health Organization has generated reports and done surveys of what compound, what.
Your Honor, objection. This is the World Health Organization studies are the ones that we spoke about that.
Sustain.
Tell us what you can find. Just answer the question.
Yeah, okay. It's found in everything from drinking water to household foods, things like cheeses and even soft drinks.
We need to approach. I have an objection, and I need to show you that.
Okay.
Judge, I would object. I think we've covered this area.
Folks, just approach the sidebar. Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the time is now approximately 11:59. We're going to recess for lunch. We're going to start back at 1:45 for you. There's a matter we have to take up at 1:30. That should give you enough time to take care of your lunch, and there's an appointment I think one of you has at noon. So that should give everyone sufficient time to do what they need to do. Members of the jury, you may be excused for lunch. We'll bring you back at 1:45, the rest of you at 1:30. You have that site with you, Mr. Ashton?
Lynn versus Fossum, found at 946 Southern 2nd, 1032. It just has to do with the ability of an expert to testify as hearsay as to the basis of his opinion. That case involved hearsay as far as the statements of other consulting experts, but I believe the principle would apply. I'll have more when we come back.
Okay, we'll be in recess to 1:30. Okay, let the record reflect that the defendant is present along with counsel for the defendant, assistant state attorneys. Okay, both sides ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, with the proffer matter.
Object to any proffer. The court's ruled we're in a proper line of questioning. I'm not interested in pre-trying my case for the prosecutor to have another look. This has been going on far too often, and I think the court has ruled in our favor, and unless, if the court instructs me to do so, I will do so, but it'll certainly be over our objection.
Well, I don't necessarily think we need a proffer, but if you've read the case that Mr. Ashton cited, as long as the doctor has given his opinions, but if he's just going to simply regurgitate something that's taken out of an article,
Which I don't believe he was doing.
well, I don't know what he's going to do, and I will trust that that's what he's not going to do, because it would be, as the Lynn case says, inadmissible hearsay.
According to his deposition, his only knowledge as to whether commercial products contain chloroform is from internet research. So I will state as an officer of the court that, having been asked that question at the deposition, he's indicated that the source of that information is hearsay. So under Lynn and in fact, I looked up, Professor Earhart actually has a section where he discusses Lynn, and I think concludes, as I do, that the ruling in Lynn indicates that a witness cannot testify on direct to the underlying facts that his opinion is based on if those facts are not admissible. Anything that Dr. Furton would say about his research, internet research, or research to sources about whether certain cleaning products contain certain amounts of chloroform or other products is hearsay. And I believe that my objection was when he started to go into the specific matters that were contained therein, and I believe that Lynn clearly says that that is not admissible.
Well, I'm not going to require proffer, but let's just make sure he does not, because let me tell you what will happen. Let me finish.
Yes, sir.
If it comes out on cross-examination that this is based entirely upon hearsay, then his testimony is subject to being stricken with an instruction to disregard. So you might want to talk with him about it, but I'm not going to require that you proffer. But that's the end result of that, if that occurs. And I don't know what has occurred. I don't know what he's going to be basing his opinion on.
I would just reiterate what the court had said at sidebar in reference to, and this is the correct interpretation, Your Honor's interpretation is the correct interpretation of Lynn, that if the facts or data are the type reasonably relied upon by experts in the subject, as is the internet, and as is textbooks and different things, all of it comes from hearsay. So if it's reasonably relied upon by experts in this field, then I think it's admissible, and Lynn does not apply. So I don't see how an expert can render an opinion by getting data without getting data as a relation of hearsay. But if it's reasonably relied upon by these experts in their field, then it is purely permissible.
Well, you can get information various ways. One particular example would be as an analytical chemist. If he's examined these products and ran analysis, a scene detail analysis over the year, he studied the chemical composition of common household products, then he can testify that based upon his experience, that's fine. The flip side to that is if I do an internet search and I determine that compound H is basically made up of A and B, and that is the sole basis of my knowledge, and I regurgitate to you simply that, and it is not the sum total of what I've read and what I've researched, then that's where you run into a Lynn problem. I don't know what he's going to say or what the basis is, what he's going to say. If this is newfound knowledge and is based solely upon what he read on the internet, well, you don't need an expert to do that. We all could read articles on the internet and come back and talk about it. So,
I will call him to see what the basis of his knowledge is.
I'm not requiring, as you requested for you, to proffer. But we got about 5 more minutes before I told this jury, well, 6 more minutes that we were going to start. So if you want to step outside and confer with him, you can.
Okay. If I can have a moment, Your Honor.
You may.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, both sides ready to proceed?
Are we proceeding with proffer or proceeding to the jury?
Do with the short proffer.
Okay.
The basis of his knowledge.
You understand I'm not requiring you to proffer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just want to avoid any further delays.
All right.
Dr. Furton, can you explain to us the basis of your knowledge on chloroform?
Based on general knowledge of volatile toxic chemicals such as chloroform being present.
And would that be through your education and experience?
Yes.
Okay. And have you, even prior to this case, relied on scientific journals and treatises to gain knowledge on chloroform, where it's found, and in as far as levels are concerned as well?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And at the Fry hearing, you testified from a report. What report, or a study, I should say? What study is that exactly?
I referred to the World Health Organization has reports on toxic chemicals in the environment and in households. And so I referred to the World Health Organization report on chloroform, which lists, essentially it's a thorough review of the documents and peer-reviewed articles that refer to chloroform in various environments.
And how many times have you had chloroform show up on samples as you've been, since, I'm sorry, let me strike that. How long have you been using a gas chromatograph mass spectrometer?
About 25 years.
And in those 25 years, have you frequently had chloroform come up as a chemical in some of the samples you've done, both environmental and other types of samples?
I don't recall the exact number, but we've used chloroform as a solvent, and we've also, seen chloroform in mixtures.
Now, subsequent, just prior to your getting ready to testify, did you do further research to identify more specific items that you could find chloroform in?
Yes, because in the that World Health Organization report, there were some consumer products that weren't listed in there, and so I did internet searches to see what other references were out there related to consumer products and chloroform.
And these internet searches, were they of legitimate scientific journals and articles?
They it varied. Some I did through Google Scholar. So there are very some came up as journal articles, some came up as websites where analyses had been reported for different consumer products.
And are these sources reasonably relied upon for forensic chemists to assist them in rendering their decision or opinions?
It would depend on the source. So in some cases, if there isn't a peer-reviewed study published, then I would use the information with caution.
Now, you've been instructed not to refer to those findings that you've had in your most recent internet research. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the opinions that you were about to render and that you will render, provided the court permits, have nothing to do with these recent internet research that you've done, correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Ashton?
Doctor, have you ever done any research into the presence or levels of chloroform in household products?
No, I haven't.
Is everything you know about which household products contain chloroform and to what extent all based on what you've read from various sources?
Yes. Well, my knowledge and experience as a analytical chemist and the journal articles and government reports that I've read, yes.
Well, if you have never done any research in the presence of chloroform, what experience are you talking about, other than reading?
As an expert in the field of analytical chemistry, that's my life, is separating, identifying, quantifying mixtures, and chloroform is like one of many chemicals.
I understand that.
Yes.
The specific question is your testimony about its presence in common household products and the amount. That is completely based on what you've read, correct? It's not based on any tests you've done.
As are my opinions related to the studies done by Voss and others. Yes, they're based on peer-reviewed journal articles or government reports.
Right. I just wanted to make sure we understood that. Your Honor, I don't know if you want me to argue the
Go ahead.
point. The witness can give an opinion. The difficulty is that Lynn indicates that he's not permitted to announce to the jury the hearsay upon which it's based. So I have no objection to him expressing some opinion, but for him to regurgitate to the jury what he's read, either in preparation for this case or in the past, is a violation of Lynn. Lynn indicates that a witness may not be used as a conduit for hearsay information. If the defense wants the jury to believe that a particular cleaning product is a possible source of chloroform, then they need to present that to the jury in a manner that can be cross-examined, not by someone saying, I read it somewhere. The opinion still comes in. And if I choose to challenge the basis of that opinion, then it may become admissible. But at this point, the defense, according to Lynn, cannot have this witness testify in direct examination and regurgitate the inadmissible parts of his opinion. And if I may quote Mr. Mason's friend, Professor Earhart, just a moment, I'm sorry. Let me see, where was the quote? It's offset 704. At page 6767, this is section 704.1, Professor Earhart states, Lynn has apparently resolved the unsettled issue by determining an expert cannot testify during direct examination to the substance of inadmissible evidence relied upon under 90.704. And for this witness to testify to this jury that this product has this level of chloroform, has this chemical makeup, when that's based upon hearsay, Lynn says would be inadmissible.
Respond.
Yeah.
I thought this is what we agreed upon at sidebar before we went to lunch. The court ruled that he could testify about these areas. He's a chemist, an analytical chemist. He analyzes chemistry. This is the way experts, specifically forensic chemists, get their information. He's saying, I did it on, this is based on my opinion and on articles and peer-reviewed journals that I've read. He's not saying, I heard this at the bowling alley and now I'm going to come and testify about it. Lynn is specific. If it is the type that's reasonably relied upon by experts on the subject to support the opinions expressed. That's exactly what our position was beforehand. He's not to bolster his opinion by citing the journals, and I've instructed him of that. Just state your opinions, end of story. It's based on his experience and research. but not to name the research or to improperly bolster that. So it's like we're going around in circles and chasing our tail here, Judge. You made a ruling. The experts' opinions are based on and reasonably relied upon by experts in this field. And we're just ready to move forward.
Okay, anything else, folks?
No, I think the court understands my argument.
The doctor can give his opinion. He doesn't necessarily need to give the basis of the data relied upon. He can just simply regurgitate what his opinion is.
I've made it clear also to the witness that if he's cross-examined on these specific issues as to where he gets his knowledge from, then he can use and cite the basis of that. Am I correct in that assumption, sir?
You are exactly correct.
Do you understand all the instructions, Dr. Furton?
Yes, I do.
Okay. We're ready, Judge.
Okay. Let's return to jury. State recognizes presence of jury.
Yes, sir.
Defense.
Yes, sir, we do.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Did you heed all of my previous admonitions? You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, Mr. Ashton. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Furton, where we left off, you were explaining to the jury what types of products that you can commonly find chloroform in. Can you explain to them the different array of products?
Same objection, Judge. This isn't an opinion. See. Lynn, statement of fact.
Overruled.
The most common place you find chloroform is when chlorine reacts with organic compounds. So when you household bleach contains chloroform because of the reaction of the a very strong sodium hypochlorite reacting with organic compounds, usually fragrances or things that might be in the bleach.
Can you speak a little closer to the microphone?
Oh, sorry. Yes. And so, and chloroform itself is a non-polar compound, so it tends to be a higher concentration in non-polar things, which would be fatty type of materials. So you see it in things like butter, oils, cheese, things of that nature.
Okay. And you also said we could find it in water?
Yes, because chlorinated drinking water, because there are organic compounds in drinking water. When it's chlorinated, chloroform is formed.
Now, the gas chromatograph mass spectrometer, would it pick up chloroform levels in water?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Would it pick up other chemicals that are commonly found in water,
Yes.
as well as cleaning products and everything else, pretty much?
Yeah, any of these what we call volatile or these low molecular weight organic compounds would be detected. Volatile organic compounds.
Now, do you have an opinion after looking at the 5 chemical compounds that Dr. Voss found in this case as to whether those chemical compounds are the makeup of human decomposition?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you share with the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what those opinions are?
Yeah, it's my opinion that using that those 5 compounds are not unique to human decomposition, because 2 of the compounds, chloroform and carbon tetrachloride, are found in household products such as bleach, and the methyl sulfides, the 3 methyl sulfides, or the methyl dimethyl sulfide and the other 2 methyl sulfides, have been reported in decomposing organic matter. It doesn't even have to be another animal, but they've been reported in urban waste trash bins, for example. So they're known not to be unique for human decomposition.
And are there studies that have shown that these organic compounds can be found in trash?
Objection, Lynn.
Sustain.
And do you have any other opinions based on those 5, or is that pretty much the sum of it?
Yeah, that's pretty much the sum of it, that we know those 5 are not unique to human decomposition, so cannot be relied upon to make that conclusion.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
Have you ever examined the spare tire cover that was tested by Oak Ridge National Laboratory?
Move to strike.
That's it?
Yes, sir.
Overruled on that basis.
Let me show you just a moment.
It's also beyond the scope, Judge.
Response as beyond the scope?
Well, I haven't asked the question yet, but the question I'm going to ask has to do with bleach.
Okay. Overruled at this point.
You see State's Exhibit 139.
Yes.
Take it, you would accept the first of my question that this is the spare tire cover that was, portion of which was tested by the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. All right?
Yes.
See any bleach stains on that?
Not that are apparent to me.
There's a whole big, the portion that was,
Overruled.
Judge, the question he just asked him, there's a missing part of, that was
Overruled.
inspected.
The chemical reactions that you're referring to that could coincidentally create chloroform don't happen in a vacuum. They don't create just chloroform, do they?
Organic compounds, correct.
Particularly the reaction between bleach or the active ingredient bleach and organic compound creates more than just chloroform. It creates other compounds, correct?
Yes, in fact, carbon tetrachloride is more abundant than chloroform.
Pardon me?
Carbon tetrachloride is even more abundant than chloroform in things like bleach.
Bleach, right. But you would expect that if bleach were spilled upon a dark fabric surface, that the dark fabric surface would reflect some evidence of bleach having been spilled on it, wouldn't you?
Overruled.
If the source of the bleach was being placed directly on the carpet, then yes.
All right. Now, but even in that circumstance, there would be other chemical signatures to show that that reaction had occurred between the active ingredient in bleach and organic components. Some specific bromides, I think, were discussed earlier in this trial. Is that correct? Are you familiar with that?
During my testimony?
No. Are you familiar with the other chemicals that are created by the accidental, the process that creates chloroform through the contact between chlorine and organic material creates more than just chlorine? What are the other things it creates?
I know that it can create other things. I don't know of anybody who's done a peer-reviewed study on that, and it wasn't in any of the reports I was asked to review.
So you don't have any idea whether that coincidental reaction that you suggested would have left other indicia that are not in this case, that weren't found. Did you understand my question? That may have been inartfully done.
Yes, no, I understand it. It may have, but that would need to be researched and published in order to use that as part of an analysis.
Did you research to determine whether there are articles in peer-reviewed publications that discuss that accidental creation of chloroform and what else is created?
There were no articles that I came across in my research or that I was made aware of.
Did you find an article in an Iranian journal that discussed that coincidental creation of chloroform?
And
Do you recall that?
No, I never had I would think I would have remembered an Iranian journal article.
So your research in this area only went as far as that, yes, it can be accidentally created, but not deeper into what else might be created so we could determine whether it actually happened or not.
No, the fact that there's so many things that can happen is exactly why I have the opinion that I have, which is that this is an ongoing research study that needs to be analyzed in order to make those determinations. One journal article in an Iranian journal wouldn't be sufficient to be relied upon to make a conclusion in a forensic case.
But how many articles are you relying upon in telling this jury that chloroform can be accidentally created through the combination of chlorine and organic compounds? How many articles are you relying on for that you tell this jury?
Well, I just gave one. I have one example article that I put in my report just to give as an example, but there are many, many other sources of chloroform.
And what did that article say about the other compounds that are created by this coincidental creation of chloroform?
I don't recall. As I said, I'm not involved in, I wasn't trying to come up with an interpretation of a particular outcome. The idea was to illustrate that chloroform and carbon tetrachloride were relied upon as 2 of the 5 compounds to determine that there's a human origin, but we know that they can come from non-human sources.
So you weren't trying to figure out where they actually came from. You were just trying to see if there was some other explanation that you could come up with.
No, I was trying to see where they came from, which is that they did not, and also the reason we compared to other studies is whether they came from a human origin or whether they could come from a consumer origin. But I'm not saying they had to come from bleach. I'm saying there are any number of potential sources that the chloroform could come from. That was one example.
Exactly, and each one of those sources, chloroform comes with something else, correct?
With everything comes with something else. That's what is
And
involved
so
in chemistry.
in determining whether any particular appearance of chloroform is due to one of those sources, all you have to do is look to see if those other things are also there.
Yeah, that was not done in this study, in this report. That's exactly my point.
And you didn't do it either.
No, because I have the opinion that it's not possible at this moment. It's ongoing research. That would be later on once compounds are identified. If chloroform were a characteristic compound for human decomposition, then that would be very important to do to see what levels it is relative to things that could be from non-human decomposition.
But as far as whether the chloroform in this case came from someone mixing chloroform and deliberately administering it to a child versus it being created by some accidental reaction, you didn't really go too far into figuring out which one it was. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
The same thing with its presence in butter or cheese. There are other things that should have been found. Let me withdraw the question. Isn't chloroform a carcinogen?
Yes, it is.
And it's in butter and cheese?
Yes, like I said, if you start looking at what toxic chemicals are present in the environment, it can be a little bit scary because they are present at various levels in many common compounds.
In very, very, very small amounts, correct? In the parts per billion range.
Typically a part per billion or a low part per million in some cases.
In what substances does it appear in a low parts per million range?
It would typically be the more fatty materials like cheeses or butters, although some pasta products have also been reported to have high levels.
In low parts per million range?
Yes.
Is there an FDA limit on how much chloroform can be in a product, a food product?
Yes.
What's that limit?
I don't recall the limit off the top of my head.
Is it in the parts per billion range?
Yes, it's in the low level.
Okay. And in water, it appears in drinking water. You're talking about?
Yes, in low levels. You find
In
it in
the
drinking water.
parts per billion range.
Correct. And sometimes even lower.
Now, let's talk for a moment about some of your PowerPoints. Can we pull up that PowerPoint again
Sure.
and go through it?
What is the exhibit number?
I'll have to defer to counsel on that. I don't recall what the exhibit number.
Madam Clerk?
I don't think so.
Exhibit FB.
Okay, so let's move on to, keep going. We'll just make sure this isn't, okay, keep going, please. Next. Go back. Okay, this slide. This is
Let me put it in
slide number 3,
It's,
whoever's running it. Is it slide 3?
excuse me. Yes, slides 3.
Okay. If I may publish this slide to the jury.
You may.
Now, you described this slide as a, whoops, we just lost it.
Oh, sorry, I put it in the, I think it's going into the presentation mode.
There we go. You described this slide as a comparison between the variations of the odor signatures of living human beings and dead ones. That'd be correct.
That'd be correct.
So basically what this tells us is that we all smell much more alike when we're dead than when we're alive.
That's correct.
Okay. So this would tend to indicate that, at least potentially, there is some similarity in the odor of human decomposition among all people. Wouldn't that seem to indicate that?
Yes.
Okay. But your point is we haven't yet found that unique set of compounds or percentages of compounds that are unique to human beings. That's your point, correct?
Yes, the compounds and the significance in terms of error rates.
All right. And once jury says I'll unpublish that and go on to another one. Could I go to the next slide? Yes, this is the slide 4. I'll publish this if I may. Now, the interesting thing about this study is I should say your student performed this study for a paper that was just published this year, correct?
Yes, I completed the study with, my student did this under my direction.
Right. But your student's the one that actually went to the morgue and got the samples and analyzed them and all that kind of thing, correct?
That's correct.
Now, what she did was she went to the morgue for the 21 bodies and took a device called a scent transfer unit. This is a device, I think you said it's not to make light of it because it's a serious device, but it sort of looks like a dustbuster. Sucks air in through a certain filtering material which seeks to collect the organic compounds for later analysis or examination by a dog. Correct?
Correct. The instrument is used by law enforcement agencies across the country for collecting human scent. We are applying it for a comparison of the human scent, of live human scent to human remains scent.
Now, the particular, though, collection medium that you use for this device is actually inferior to the triple sorbent trap. It's not as good a collection device, correct?
That's, I guess, yeah, that would be an accurate statement.
So the triple sorbent trap is likely to collect a great deal more compounds, a more variety of compounds than the filtering device that's used for this study, correct?
I'd have to speculate, but it typically, depending on the concentration, if you went to lower concentration levels, you would probably collect similar compounds, but the triple sorbent trap would tend to collect a larger amount of the chemicals.
It's more likely to get compounds that appear only in small amounts, correct?
That's accurate, yes.
Now, in this circumstance, your student that collected these items, basically, the way she did it was she basically held the device over basically the midsection of the corpse for about a minute, allowed air to come through the device, and then sampled the filtering device to see what compounds were found, correct?
Yeah, she sampled over the entire body for a period of 1 minute, which is the 1 minute is the same sampling time that is used by law enforcement agencies to sample live human odor.
Now, She did not, though, take control samples of the morgue where she examined the bodies, correct?
No, she did do some samplings away from the body, but there are background when you're dealing with as you can imagine, a morgue or a crematorium. There are compounds associated with human decomposition that are going to be ubiquitous.
That are just going to be there all the time?
Yes.
Okay. So this wasn't done out in a natural environment, either on the ground or anything like that, correct?
That's correct.
Right. And in fact, there was a number of compounds that were found, according to this, in every body in the morgue, but sometimes in one or no bodies in the crematorium, correct?
Yes.
Wouldn't that tend to indicate that those might more likely be background rather than something coming off the body?
That's a possibility.
But she didn't really correct for that in this chart, correct?
No, that's correct. This is ongoing research.
Okay. All right. I think there may be one more I want to go to. Would you go to the next slide, please?
Next.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just speak about this one for a moment. This particular study, just so the jury's clear, the tuna, chicken, lamb, pork, those are testing of meats processed for human consumption, correct?
Yes, they're the meats from the animal.
But I mean, it wasn't a freshly slaughtered. It was basically she went to a restaurant and got rotted food of various things, or got it from Publix, and then tested it that way. It's processed, correct?
Well, yeah, it's unprepared. It wasn't cooked, but yes, unprepared and then allowed to decompose.
Okay. But this does actually demonstrate a great deal of consistency among human decomposition and a great difference from those animal sources. That's what this chart would seem to indicate, correct?
Yes, and that was the point of the study, is to try to look at compounds that would be not only common amongst humans, but different between humans and other species.
And it would seem to indicate that there is a great deal of difference between human and non-human decomposition odors, at least from that chart.
Yes, there does appear to be that.
Okay. Next slide, please. Let's go one more. One more.
Oh, I think that was
this-
it back maybe?
I wanted the one that's on the big chart, but I know you have it on a slide.
Oh, I have it.
too.
Think of it at the end.
Where was that? There it is. Okay. Now, let me publish that if I may. Now, you testified on direct that each one of these studies was slightly different, and I want to talk about the differences. Which one of the studies that you cite from the literature was the most longitudinal? Longitudinal, in other words, covered a decomposition from a variety of times.
That would be the reference 6 and 7, the Voss studies, which were buried, I believe 4 buried bodies in each study.
Okay, so Dr. Voss's study is the only one that looked at a longitudinal look at decomposition. All the other studies looked at particular points in time. Is that correct?
It would be in terms of whole bodies. That would be correct. Yes.
Correct. All right, we're going to get to the partial bodies in just a minute. How many of these studies use triple sorbent traps, which we've said was the more robust method of collection?
Well, I don't know if I said it was a more robust method. It's a common method used for environmental sampling.
Whatever word you want to use. Which one of these used that method?
I believe those are the Statheropoulos and the Voss articles.
So those are the two papers that use the triple sorbent trap technique.
I believe so, yes.
Is that the best technique to use in obtaining the maximum variety of compounds, even in very minute amounts?
Proper bolstering?
Overall?
It's one method. I don't know that it's the best method. a commonly used method so that it is
Now, of all of these studies that you cite, how many of them involved decomposition odors from whole bodies as opposed to parts?
from the ones that are listed here. It would be those same four.
So
study bodies.
Stephanopoulos and Voss are the only ones on this list that actually looked at entire human bodies.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
So the Hoffman, Caldwell, Lorenzo, and Tolliver studies were all studies of things typically used for canine training aids. Portions, correct.
Yeah, there'd be portions of a decomposing body at different stages of decomposition.
Like blood,
Yes.
what else?
Blood, usually adipose tissue, bone, oftentimes a early stage decomposition material. Some people will use like placenta or some other human-derived material that's not of the whole body, but that is at a different stage of decomposition.
And this study bears out that those studies that look at decomposition of the entire body find more variation of compounds than those studies that only look at specific parts. Isn't that true?
No, I don't believe that's true. I think when you look at the total list, there are many compounds in most of the studies, and they don't necessarily correlate based on whether it's whole body or body parts.
So you haven't found from this study that Dr. Stethropopoulos and Dr. Voss's studies generally found a wider variety of compounds than the other studies that did not look at the entire human body?
Well, I think they find a larger number of total compounds, likely because they were utilizing the triple sorbent trap, as I mentioned, which tends to collect more higher concentration of compounds.
So the fact that a large number of these compounds were only found in Dr. Voss's work may be because Dr. Voss is the only one that looked at longitudinal decomposition and used triple sorbent traps. Isn't that right?
Proper bolstering.
Overall,
Doesn't that make sense?
I don't believe so, because Stathropoulos also used triple sorbent trap and didn't see the same compounds.
But did Stethropopoulos look at a longitudinal decomposition process? He looked at one day, right?
Correct.
Stethropopoulos sampled his corpses one day,
Correct.
not over 4 years.
Correct. But generally speaking, when a person decomposes and you see people become more similar in terms of the compounds they produce, it doesn't change from day to day. You get a consistency, which is what's happening when you move from a live human to human remains.
Don't you agree that the compounds emanated from decomposition change over time based upon the stage of decomposition?
Oh yes, you would see the ratios of compounds can change, and some the identity of compounds can change as the decomposition process proceeds.
And of course, of all of these studies, how many of these studies looked at anaerobic decomposition? That is, decomposition in an oxygen-limited or deprived environment.
I believe the only in terms of bodies, it would be the Voss studies where he had actually buried his subjects.
So the fact that Dr. Voss found a large number of compounds that other studies did not may be attributed to the fact that he was looking in a different way. Isn't that most probable?
I couldn't say that that's most probable. There's but it could be that a body buried deep could produce some compounds that aren't produced from a body that's, say, at the surface. That's a possibility.
But you would agree the more information that you have about the chemistry of human decomposition, the better someone is able to draw an opinion. More information, the better, correct?
Yes, that's why the more studies we have, the better in terms of being able to determine the source of human decomposition.
Now, while you state that the chemical analysis of the odor is not sufficient by itself to establish human decomposition, you would agree that the information is helpful in limiting the possible sources of that odor, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, can you tell me, based upon the chemical analysis of the odor, of the substance of volatile fatty acids in the paper towel, the inorganic compounds found in the carpet, and the volatile fatty acid found in the carpet, those 4 items that Dr. Voss's study showed, can you tell us, can all 4 of those be explained by the presence of a dead human body in the trunk of that car?
I would say it's possible to be explained by the presence of a dead human body in the trunk of the car with possibly some additional chemicals present from other materials.
What additional chemicals would you have to have?
Well, the chloroform and the carbon tetrachloride have only been reported in 2 studies, so they could have come from other sources, because otherwise they're inconsistent with the other studies that have been published related to the presence or absence of human remains.
But there are 2 studies that do find both those chemicals in human decomposition, correct?
Yes, by the same person who did this analysis, that's
Right.
correct.
But unless you discredit that study, which you don't, then those could be accounted for by human decomposition, correct?
Well, I guess I am discounting or discrediting those studies in regard to them being of limited scope and still being ongoing research and not to the level that you could measure the reliability of the method.
Do you question whether Dr. Voss's studies actually found carbon tetrachloride in chloroform?
I know he
That is in the studies, not in the casework.
yeah.
Let's be allowed to complete his answer.
Doctor, did you finish your answer?
No, not yet.
Go ahead, finish your answer.
Just want to make sure you understood what the question
Thank
was.
you.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. In his study, he did not run standards, so he's basing it on mass spectral interpretation, which may or may not be correct. But other than that, I believe he saw those based on the mass spectrum that were produced by his instrument.
Are you now indicating that you have some question about whether his study for the 2004-2008 paper were done thoroughly and properly?
If you want to call it that. I mean, it's just as I explained earlier. Normally, you run standards to look at the retention time and then look at the mass spectrum to confirm the identity. And in the papers, he says that they did not do that. They just relied on the mass spectral patterns.
For council's benefit, I'm sorry. Do you recall having your deposition taken February 19th of 2011?
Yes.
Page 43, line 6 for counsel. May I approach the witness?
You may.
The portion I want you to read is the highlighted portion. If you'd like to read farther back for context, please feel free. And when you've done that, just let me know.
Okay.
You done?
Yes.
Doctor, it's true, is it not, that, just a moment, should I read it correctly? That in reference to those same studies during your deposition on February 19th of 2011, you said, and I quote, "I'm not saying that the study was, I believe, was not done properly or not done thoroughly. I'm just saying that it's my opinion that this area is still ongoing research, active research, and the merit has yet to be fully measurable." Isn't that what you said? That study was not done, you said you're not saying it was not done properly or thoroughly. Have you changed your opinion?
No, I'm just adding to it. I mean, I have, in my publications, and in some cases, I run with standards. If I'm going to rely on the identity of the compounds, I'll run standards, and I have publications where I rely on the mass spectrum. I'm saying that there's another step that's missing. I'm not saying that it means that the work does not have scientific merit. I'm just saying that there's additional work that really needs to be done.
Can we go back to the slide? Do you have your, is he running the slides or are you? He is.
Nope.
Could you go back to the slide with the study involving the morgue and the crematorium?
With the table?
You know what? I don't think we have the larger table on this one. In the study done at, that was published recently, it's true, is it not, that you all used the spectral library to identify a number of compounds that you found in your study? Isn't that right?
That's correct. In the table that we published, the top 20 compounds, we ran standards to be sure of the identity, but the others, which we found in less than 50% of the cases, we didn't run the standards.
Yet you still published the data, correct?
Yes, because we weren't focusing on those compounds.
Now, what other one single event or substance other than a decomposing human body can explain all of the findings of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, the 4 things we talked about? Is there any other one thing that could explain all of them other than a decomposing human body?
It would most likely be a combination of things, which would be the consumer products that were reported in the Voss report, which were some petroleum products, for example, that reproduce chemicals like the toluene, as well as a decompositional event that does not necessarily have to be of human origin. That combination could produce similar inorganic compounds, fatty acids, as well as the volatiles that we reported, certainly the 5 volatiles that he relied upon to make his final conclusion.
Well, of course, the 5 volatiles he relied upon, there were other volatiles there that are also associated with human decomposition, correct?
Yes, but he excluded them for various reasons.
Because many of them overlap with gasoline components.
Yes, that was most of them, I believe.
Right. And just because something overlaps with gasoline components doesn't mean it's not partially human decomposition and partially gasoline. They can be additive, correct?
Yes, but you couldn't rely on those compounds for your interpretation.
All right. Let me have just a moment. So tell me the combination of is what you're telling us that there is no one single item that can explain all of the findings other than a dead human body. Is that correct?
Well, I'm saying even the of the chemicals that are present there, including the chloroform and carbon tetrachloride, could be from a human body plus other residues of other products, consumer products, or background materials. It's the same thing could be the case if you had decomposing either an animal or decomposing other organic matter in combination with consumer products could produce similar chemicals.
But you have to ignore the peer-reviewed literature in order to say that, because the peer-reviewed literature says that carbon tetrachloride and chloroform can both come from decomp. Isn't that right?
2 papers say that, and 6 papers don't report those compounds. So
Are the 2
you're-
papers that show it peer-reviewed?
Be allowed to finish his answer.
I thought he was,
Doctor,
I'm
did you
sorry.
finish answering the question?
No. Yeah, you'd actually have to ignore the peer-reviewed literature to make that conclusion and just rely on only 2 papers published by the person who actually did the analysis.
If I may have just a moment, Your Honor. Do you recall giving a second deposition Saturday?
Yes, I do.
For counsel's benefit, this is at page 88, line 1. You'll just read the question. It starts at line 1 here, and the answer.
Yes.
On Saturday, I asked you the following question.
The witness has not expressed this is not an inconsistent statement, nor has he expressed any inability to recollect what happened on Saturday.
I believe it isn't consistent, Your Honor. I'll be happy to
Let
show
me
it.
see it. I don't have a copy of that deposition. May I see? Court reporter? Objection overruled. May I answer the, you may
So,
proceed.
at your deposition on Saturday, I asked you the following question. We were talking about this idea of the accounting for the findings of the Voss report. Sure. Page 88, line 1. Question. Basically, the presence of a human body in the trunk of that car decomposing could explain all of those findings. In other words, could be the cause of and explain all of those findings. Could be, and you answered yes.
Yes, they could be.
Well, today you seem to be saying no, that they couldn't be.
I was only referring to the idea of that only one event, that it could, whether there would be only one, essentially one contributor to the odors. That's what I was referring to, related to other chemicals that were present. But that would still be my answer, that it could be based on everything that's there would be consistent.
Okay, well, I ask you if all of the findings could be caused of and explained by the presence of a decomposing human body, and you said yes, they all could be explained.
The answer. The witness has clarified his answer.
Response?
Your Honor, I apologize, I was reading. Could counsel repeat it? I apologize, I got lost in trying to find something.
He said the witness has clarified his answer and there's no need to continue.
I'm not sure that's a legal objection, Judge. I don't know.
My legal objection was proper impeachment.
No, Your Honor, I'm exploring with the witness exactly what was asked and exactly what he answered.
And it's also argumentative.
Okay, overruled, but let's get to the point and
Sure.
move on.
So the question I had was, my question was very specific, that all of the findings could be explained, and you said yes. Are you now saying something different?
No, what I was saying is there were other compounds indicated in the trunk, the gasoline as one. So a decomposing human body with other compounds like gasoline, which actually could have chlorinated compounds as well, would be consistent. So when you ask, could all the results in this particular case be consistent with it? The answer is yes. When I was clarifying could only one event. I was separating
Right.
one, if you had only that and nothing else, that's what I was referring to.
But you
that it would
did
be-
acknowledge that the presence of a decomposing human body alone would explain all these findings. You don't have to add anything to it. That alone is enough, correct?
Well, I was saying there are compounds which I don't know that have been, I have not been reported by other researchers that were present that may not be consistent with decomposition. So the answer is yes, it could be.
Now, can you tell the jury any other single event or thing that could explain all of the findings from the trunk, other than a decomposing human body?
No, I think I mentioned earlier it would be a combination of events. It could be a non-human decompositional event as well as other compounds being present from either household products or chemicals such as gasoline that were present in the trunk would combine to produce a similar mixture, but not one single event.
So, what of the things that were actually found in the trunk, can you construct a cause for the findings of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory from what was found in the trunk?
Well, all I had available to me was looking at the picture of the pieces of the materials from the garbage that had been already spread out and taken from the bag. But if there was a bag of rotting trash in the trunk and it had those items, could be various contributors. The dairy products such as cheese and the Velveeta cheese, the meat such as pork and beef that were present in the, could be present as residues in the salami package, could potentially contribute the inorganic compounds, the fatty acids, as well as the volatiles. But that's just speculation because there are no peer-reviewed articles that have done detailed background studies on these, and that's one of the main issues with trying to use this kind of a method at the present time is we don't have a strong database of background materials in order to look at the reliability of the method.
But you do agree that something was decomposing in the trunk of this car?
Yes.
Yes. So something's decomposing. The question is, what is it? Correct?
That's correct.
Now, from the things that we know are in the trunk, what is there that you believe, is there anything in there that you believe can account for all of the findings of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory? If so, tell me what it is.
I believe I just answered that.
Okay, well, let's talk first about the, I believe in your, let's go, can you show me the slide with the garbage? Okay, may I publish?
You may?
So you mentioned two things. The first is this salami package that I want to talk about, correct? Mm-hmm. Are you aware that there is no meat in that package?
That's correct. There would only be residues present.
And you would agree that a little residue in the bottom of this package is not going to be enough to create an odor that will permeate an entire trunk and be detectable by the methods used, right?
From that one thing. I don't know what I didn't see the trash as it was all together, but just by itself, it would be unlikely to produce a substantial odor unless the salami came out and was decomposing somewhere else and disappeared or something. But just that package by itself, if it were empty and put in the trunk.
Well, the other
It'd be
things you
unlikely.
mentioned are these Velveeta remnant, for lack of a better word, correct? Now, do you
Okay.
know if there was any, well, first of all, do you know if how much of Velveeta is actually a milk product? I don't, I'm just asking.
Yeah, it actually, believe it or not, does have main ingredient is milk and milk fat, so but
And-
not very much cheese.
Not very much cheese. Do you know how much actual product there was in that package?
I can only tell from the picture, it doesn't look like very much.
Well, let's look at it.
You may?
This is obviously after it was altered and has no bearing on the chemical signature.
Overruled.
Let me just ask you a question. And do you believe that whether this Velveeta package was wet or dry would substantially affect whether it would give off whether it would give off odors on decomposition?
From a particular stain, because if you have wet,
No, I mean the item itself.
the individual item,
That cheese package. Would it affect its decomposition whether it was wet or dry?
yes,
Okay. Would it still give off decomposition odors even if it was dry?
it would be substantially less. It's going to.
Now, let's look at, I'm going to pull out 20, 21, and 22. All right, let's start off with number 22. Then let's let up see what we find. This is the bag label 22 from State's Exhibit 136. Okay. Take a look at that item and tell me if you see any actual food product in that item.
It doesn't appear.
So you would agree that this box from Velveeta Rotonian cheese with broccoli would not create a decomposition odor such as found in the car, correct? This item wouldn't.
That item, as it is now,
Right.
I would say it wouldn't produce a substantial odor.
I'm now opening 21. Again, take a look at that. Does that appear to contain any food product?
No, just residue of something, but no actual food product that's apparent.
Would you expect this item to give off any aspect of the decomposition odor found in this case? This item,
Well, not in its present state.
in its present
I mean,
state? Well, I mean, in any state.
Well, if it was wet and there was any decompositional event going on and that water pooled into a trash can or pooled into a trash bag and pooled into a stain in a carpet, it could be.
But there's no organic matter in this to rot, correct?
I don't know. I would have to test it. We're talking about residues, not visible amounts. The residual odor is not necessarily visible to the naked eye. So
And is it your testimony that, let's go on to number 20 first. Take a look at that. This is number 20. Any food product you see in there?
no, just some very soiled box.
Soiled box. So, as a soiled box, this would not tend upon decomposition to give off the chemical signature found by the Oak Ridge test, would it?
If it were stained with the same inorganics and fatty acids that came from the Velveeta wrapper that is shown in the picture. I mean, in the photographs I have from the trunk show the actual Velveeta
The foil package.
foil package.
Let's see if we can
Right.
find it. would be 26. Let's look at 26. All right, here we have number 26. Take a look at that.
Yep.
So,
Just a foil wrapper with cheese residue on the inside.
may I pass this around to the jury, Your Honor?
This is clearly altered evidence, and it's been established to the record.
Objection overruled as in evidence.
Doctor, you would agree with me, would you not, that there is not sufficient organic material in any of the things that we have just looked at to create the level of decomposition odor in this vehicle? Wouldn't you agree?
No, I couldn't say that with certainty. I mean, that material obviously had what looked like rotted cheese residue on the inside. That material would be consistent with the same fatty acids and inorganics that were reported in the report that I read. Now, whether that one thing or whether that contributed is speculation, which is what I believe was being done in the report, which we don't know enough about the background materials and what was the source of that stain. We don't know. I'm just saying they could be contributors. I'm not saying that they were the source of it.
Well, I mean, we've gone through the only things that were in the trunk, in the trash, correct? As far as you know.
As far as I know, yes. Of
Okay.
what I've
And you would
seen.
agree with me that what is in that garbage bag is not sufficient to have created the odor that came from that trunk.
It's been asked and answered.
Sustained.
Now, would that trash that we saw, that limited amount of organic material, in your opinion, be sufficient to leave a smell in the vehicle 2 years after it was removed?
What I saw,
What
was
you
left,
saw.
I think that would be unlikely.
Now, you also have expertise in human detection canines, correct?
Beyond the scope of direct.
I believe he testified on direct about his work with human detection canines.
Overruled.
That's not certain. That's not true, Judge. In fact, he gave no opinions under direct examination having anything to do with canines. The only issue discussed with canines was through his qualifications.
Overruled.
And in fact, you were provided with documentation about the human detection canines used in this case, were you not?
Sustained.
Now, you would agree that the substances that we have just discussed would not be such that a well-trained and maintained human remains detection dog would alert on.
Excuse me, Mr. Ashton. The court has sustained this objection in this line of questioning.
Goes to the nature of the odor. He's an expert.
No, it does not, Judge. May we
Objection
approach?
sustained.
Then we will reserve the right to recall him. No further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Yes.
Did you ever say that there was a bleach stain on this carpet?
I said it, none that was apparent to me, and I never purported that in my,
Did you ever testify that there was a bleach stain on that carpet?
no, I didn't.
Okay. Now, you talked about chloroform levels. I don't understand. Why didn't you go to Iran and get that study or that paper?
Oh, I wasn't sure which study Mr. Ashton was referring to.
Mr. Ashton cited a paper in Iran, an Iranian, I guess, journal. Why didn't you read that one
Yeah,
to base your opinions?
I may have read. I'm not sure which paper he was referring to, but I only relied on the articles that I had at my disposal. I'm sure there are many articles out there that I'm not aware of, and we'd be happy to read those as well.
And the ones that you used to rely on your opinions were on recognized scientific journals here in the United States?
I mean, they're peer, journals that are listed as peer reviewed and listed in citation index. So,
And that Iranian paper was not amongst them?
I don't know. I'd have to see exactly what the reference is.
Okay. Now, can we see slide 3 again with the different chemical compounds? That one. Oop, go back. That one. Now, Mr. Ashton pointed out that these are the more unique chemical.
That's not the slide that I referred to. I referred to the one with the animals on it.
This
Not
is
that
the slide that he referred to. based on
Overrules.
These chemical compounds, sir, that you cite to here, are they any of the 5 chemicals that Dr. Voss cited in this case?
No, they're not.
So everything here that is unique to human decomposition were not found by Dr. Voss in this case.
Objection assumes the fact not in evidence that these are unique to human decomposition.
Overrule.
I would say that these are compounds from our study that we found to be consistent with subjects we did. And they're different from what we were using in this case.
And none of the 5 that Dr. Voss found in this case are here.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Ashton talked about longitudinal, I think I'm going to bumble the word just as much. The longitude studies, right? Done by Dr.
Longitudinal
Voss.
studies, correct.
And what he means by that is a long period of time.
Yeah, so we're going through all the stages of decomposition.
Studying human decomposition. In fact, the first paper was done on 4 years, right?
Yes.
And then the other paper was done on another 4 years.
Objection for leading.
Sustain.
How long was the second paper, sir?
I don't recall the exact length of time. I know they used 4 bodies in each study, and they sampled over a period of time with a hood over the grave.
Would the chemical composition of a buried remain 7 years or 4 years or 2 years or even 1 year be relevant to this case?
Objection to an opinion on what's relevant to legal opinion.
Sustain.
in your-
What's relevant.
In your opinion, sir, would the chemical composition of a body that's buried for over a year assist you in rendering an opinion on this case?
Objection, that's a Caden violation.
I think the
I could explain more at the bench.
You can.
Dr. Furton, in your opinion, would the chemical composition of a body that's buried for over a year have anything assist you in any way in evaluating the evidence in this case?
In terms of actual interpretation of this case, it probably be of limited use, although I think it's important to look at the body of knowledge related to whole bodies, portions of bodies, and the stage of decomposition, since it's uncertain in this case what stage of a decompositional event may have been present. But it is known that buried remains will vary compared to above ground remains.
The chemical composition is different from bodies that are buried versus ones that are on the ground. That's what you're saying.
Yes, there are limited publications, but there are indications that there are some similarities, but there are differences as well.
Now, are you aware that Caylee Marie Anthony was last seen on allegedly on June 16th, and the car was towed the car was left at the Amscot on June 27th?
Yes.
And basically, we're talking about 9 days, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware that Dr. Voss's first paper didn't do its first reading until 17 days?
Jack, I think it's 11 days, not 9.
Excuse me.
16 to 7.
Sorry. 11. Are you aware that the first readings in the 2004 paper were not read until 17 days later?
I didn't recall that, but I know it was.
Now, Dr. Voss, after 8 years of studying human decomposition in this longitudinal study, ended up having a conclusion as to the uniqueness of the chemicals found. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And can you share with the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what his conclusion was as to the chemical compounds and their uniqueness to human decomposition?
Objection. Hearsay.
Sustain.
In reviewing these materials and this study, do you have an opinion as to whether these chemical composition, the chemical composition of decomposition is unique?
Objection asked and answered and beyond the scope of cross.
Overruled, I let him ask it again.
Yes, based on the work we have done and review of the peer-reviewed literature, it's known that the 5 compounds that were in the end relied upon as the most important compounds for Dr. Voss to make his conclusion are known not to be unique to human decomposition.
Now, there was quite a bit of questioning by...
To strike Caylee violation. The last statement of the witness.
Sustain.
And ask the jury to disregard.
Jury's instructed to disregard the last statement by the witness. Next question.
There was quite a bit of discussion during cross-examination with Mr. Ashton that you answered questions in relation to what else could accommodate or could account for these chemicals being in the trunk. Do you recall that line
Yes.
of questioning? Okay. Would that include a bag of garbage in the trunk for 3 weeks?
Objection without specification of what bag of garbage and what's in it.
Sustain.
The bag of
Rephrase
garbage.
your question.
The bag of garbage that you saw photographs of, and you had a list of the items found. Would that account for many of the compounds that were discovered?
They could be contributors to the compounds that were reported in the studies.
And could additional contributors be chemicals that were already in the trunk before the trash ever got there?
Objection, hypotheticals not based on facts and evidence.
I think counsel gave numerous hypotheticals.
Sustain. Rephrase your question.
Do you know what the chemical composition of the trunk was before the garbage went in there?
No, I don't.
Okay. And would you have to know those things to be able to answer some of these questions?
Yes, in order to get a accurate analysis. Yes.
Now, you mentioned that something was decomposing. That could also be garbage decomposing, correct?
Objection without specification decomposition of what's in the garbage.
Sustain, rephrase the question.
Sure. I'd like to show you Dr. Furton states, Defense Exhibit C, which both photographs have been entered into evidence. Do you see the garbage from the photo on the right versus the photo on the left?
You may.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, do you see, and can you see whether the photo on the left is an altered version of what's on the right?
Sustain.
Do you see any differences between what's on the right and what's on the left? I think.
Overruled.
Yeah, it appears that the garbage has been removed and spread out onto a long table.
Now, there are no photographs, or you have not seen any photographs of this garbage spread out, correct?
Correct. The only photographs I saw were the image to your left.
And you don't know if while spreading these items out or before putting them into a dry room that food items might have been thrown away. So does
Overruled, he can answer the question.
I'm not aware of that.
In fact, would you say that these items of trash are pretty clean?
Photograph speaks for itself.
So does the trash he showed.
Overruled. Let's have a question and answer, folks.
You can answer.
Could you repeat the question, please?
This trash appears to be pretty clean.
Yes, it does.
Not exactly the trash you would see in a garbage bag of 3 college students, would you?
Sustain.
Now,
No, it's the bag of trash over near the witness stand.
This is probably a good time to take our afternoon recess. Regular recess is special. Okay, we'll take a recess till 25 to the hour. We'll be in recess. State recognized presence of jury. Defense.
yes, sir, we do.
Okay, you may continue.
Thank you. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Dr. Furton,
Yes.
I'm going to show you a couple of items of this trash. Showing you number 10. Can you see what appears to be chewing tobacco spit on the edge of that?
Yes, it's a brown substance. I take your word for it that it's chewing tobacco spit.
Do you see any chew in there or spit?
No, it appears to be empty.
So, in fact, do you see any of it if you look in there?
Looks like you can see the bottom of the can.
But you see plenty on the outside.
Yes.
So either the person wasn't a very good shot.
Objection calls for speculation. Move to strike.
Sustain.
And it's no longer here, correct? It's evaporated or emptied out?
I didn't see it in there.
And you see this box of Velveeta number 21 that Mr. Ashton showed you?
Yes.
Now there's some kind of purple staining there, right?
Yes, some sort of residue.
Okay. Do you know where that is? Or is it still there other than stained?
It just looks like dried residue.
So whatever was there is no longer in this box, correct?
At least there's nothing visible to the naked eye other than the
Now, do you see
dry
any-
residue.
I'm sorry.
Other than the dry residue.
Do you see any maggots or puparia there?
I have to object. I'm not sure the witness is qualified to identify those items.
Have you ever seen maggot puparia before in all of your human decomposition studies?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Can you identify, I'm not going to ask you to identify the insect, but do you see some insect activity there?
A little bit, yes. Could I, counsel point to that again?
It's right there.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Something attracted those insects to that, correct?
Yes.
Whatever that something is, no longer there.
Objection. Seems in fact not in evidence.
Sustained.
I would agree.
I'm sorry, counsel just had a comment. I'm not sure I.
Let's move on, folks.
Now, these Velveeta cheese containers that Mr. Ashton showed you. You see
Yes.
them? Do you see that black powder that's outside of them?
Yes.
Does that appear to you to be fingerprint powder?
That's what it felt like, yes, when after I handled it.
And of course, you can't take fingerprint from wet items. can you?
Objection. Outside this witness's area of expertise.
Sustained.
Dr. Furton, the chemical composition of that trash as it was when it was collected and in the photograph of the wet version would have been much stronger than what it is 3 years later after being put in a dry room, correct?
That's correct.
And finally, sir, has science advanced or evolved enough to be able to identify signature compounds for what constitutes human decomposition?
In my opinion, it hasn't, at least not to the level that we can say with any confidence and give a error rate associated with making that determination.
And this is your life's work?
Objection. Bolstering.
Sustained.
I have no further questions.
Recross?
Dr. Furton, it is the property of odors that the primary source of the odor always has the strongest odor, correct?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I'll rephrase it. If a particular odor is coming from decomposition of a particular object, the strongest smell is closest to the object, correct?
Yes, typically the source will, or the odor will emanate from, depending on the situation, but typically it will come from the highest concentration in one location.
And when the source is moved, the highest concentration of odor goes with the source, correct?
It depends. If there say many objects that have an odor and you move them out, then they will all have contributing odors. But
If the odor in this trunk came from that garbage bag, when you took the garbage bag, the odor would go with it, correct?
I would think the odor would go with it, unless there was residue also left on the carpeting that the bag was on.
But certainly the substantial amount of the odor would go with the bag. Some residue might be left behind.
Been asked and answered 3 times.
Overruled.
If something, say, dripped from the bag, some of the residue might be left behind and exude the odor, but the substance of the odor would go with the bag, correct?
Compound question.
Overruled.
If the bag was, as you say, if there was a leak in the bag, then the odor would remain. If the bag was intact and was removed, then the odor should move. The majority of the odor should be contained and move with the bag.
And in all of the reports and witness statements that you have reviewed in this case, has anyone ever said that that bag had a strong offensive odor similar to human decomposition?
Objection beyond the scope and calls for speculation.
Sustain, rephrase your question.
You reviewed reports of crime scene technicians and other police reports in this case, correct?
Yes, I did.
Did any of those reports in any way reflect that the odor similar to human decomposition was emanating from that bag by anyone that picked it up or touched it?
And not in any of the reports that I read.
No further questions.
May witness be excused.
Subject to recall, Your Honor.
You're excused, subject to recall. Thank you, Dr.